we share some flowers to people who have been our supportive system when they're still breathing.
Right.
I would like to give you this opportunity. Look into the camera. Just say thanks to 5 people around you.
When I was of age already in high school, my father went to work, to labor, to toil for my fees. He packed his bags and he left home to go and work for a relative to pay my fees. God rest him in peace. Sometimes it is as if I'm comparing my mother and my wife, but no one takes precedence over my wife, Monica. She has loved me. She made me who I am. I was a type of man that never used to have the confidence to speak. She gave me the confidence, and when she's on my side, I feel good. I feel so very empowered. I can do anything. I love my children, all of them without segregating, because they make me who I am. And those are the 5 people that make me who I am. I love them with all the passion that it requires. I'm sorry for being emotional.
Live with Simon Chris Makanga. Friends, thank you so much for the great comments, the likes, the shares, and all the subscriptions that you have given me on the previous videos. The words of encouragement, man. Thank you so much. If it's your very first time here, please kindly go ahead and subscribe. And if you have always been here, our special guest is an amazing gentleman. He's a great public service consultant in terms of health. He has served different governments in Uganda, South Sudan, and Somalia. There's a lot of wisdom that is going to be shared here. And we've not met quite long ago. I was mesmerized the very first time we had a conversation on the phone. Bwana Moses Arinaitwe, as many call you Dr. Moses.
Indeed, that's correct. I'm a fellow of the African Institute of Public Health. And in the last over 20 years, I've worked with the health sector at global level. I've worked with Uganda. Initially, I was in the Ministry of Health, and I was head of human resources for health, and came into contact with a number of development partners.
Wow.
And subsequently, I joined the Uganda Public Service from Health, and initiated the development of the Uganda Civil Service College. This particular activity was also supported by the World Bank. And then I decided to retire early from public service and join international development. That's where my dream was.
Wow. 10 years of serving Uganda. And then after that, you crossed over to South Sudan, and then you went to Somalia. What was your greatest experience working in South Sudan?
My great experience was interesting, and of course, you know that the country was coming out of war. They had lost a lot of people. They had lost infrastructure for health.
True.
And the entire system was collapsed. And so there was nothing in place.
And then there you land.
And there I land, and my job task was to restructure the healthcare system, including the Ministry of Health, the state health departments, the medical commission, and propose structures and systems, and support the minister to present them to the Council of Ministers for approval, and then come back and support the heads of departments and directorates to implement those structures. And you can see how complex this particular work was. And it was 6 years. I was there doing this work for 6 years. But the methodology of doing it is what was the most striking. We started with a piece we could bite, and through highly consultative processes, interviewed the stakeholders, proposed the structure, and once we had proposed the structure, we built consensus with those people on that structure, and took it to Council of Ministers for approval, and came back and started management processes, one-on-one processes of guiding the technical people how to implement them. And at that time, you recall that the East African countries had come together to support South Sudan to implement the structures. And so the UNDP was supporting a project which was bringing East African civil servants in the health sector, and these now would be supporting, giving hands-on to start the public service. Now, my biggest experience was seeing my work which I had started on with much hardship, but a lot of technical expertise being submitted for approval to government, approving it, and actually leading its implementation. In other words, after 6 years, all the structure of
were they laid down?
Were already laid down, were already implemented, and the health sector was running. And that is my pride. I don't count it joy for me. I count it God, because the country was bad. Civil strife. A lot of people were losing their lives. I remained alive in the 6 years and worked, but also was able to see this. This is my joy.
Was that after the 2013 or after the 2016?
That's it ended in 2016. I came back in 2016.
2016.
That's correct.
Oh.
And thereafter, I went to South Sudan, to Somaliland. Actually, Somaliland, not Somalia. And in Somaliland, I was able to use the World Health Organization methodologies and tools to do the costing for the human resources for health for that country up to 2040, and eventually support them, present to their development partners to get that approved, so that the institution can start to train human resources for health based on the structures and systems of that country. That was an excellent piece of work.
So now you come back at home.
And I come back at home.
What's keeping you busy now?
I do consult as an individual in that area of health and human resources for health, and I've supported a number of countries to develop their strategic plans. But also I give back to the community. Remember that I opted to go and support teaching at the Uganda Christian University, and I teach at the Uganda Christian University School of Medicine in Mengo, where I support the fourth-year medical students who are learning medicine to understand the Uganda's healthcare systems and beyond, but also cover medical entrepreneurship.
So literally you're retired but not tired. You're actually more active than when you were
I think
in service before.
I think these experiences must be put to action. I think that is what I love most.
What's your view about life?
My view about life is that people should do what they love and what they are passionate about. And I want to speak to parents with all honesty and cite some examples. I think that we are all one. We are human beings. That's the cut line. And when we do things we love and cherish and are passionate about, we do them better. We don't struggle, but also we excel. So what causes us to excel are the softer skills and the hidden things which many of us do not know how to appreciate.
I want to speak to those hidden skills. You cannot be elevated from serving Uganda from the healthcare system, then you go and serve another country. Not only that, you go and then serve another country, that is Somaliland. You come back and then serve the World Bank.
Right.
Man, there's something stronger and unusual in you. What are those soft skills?
I think...
Okay, let me make it clear, doctor.
Right.
What makes you a great leader?
It gets me back to my willingness and passion about things that I love to do. I love to inspire people. That is number one. I love to mentor people, but more especially I'm passionate about young people, the youth and the millennials. And yeah, my upcoming book is looking at how to get the young people, the youth and the millennials into the world of work. The manuscript is ready, and I think this is going to be the bestseller.
What was running in your mind?
What was running in my mind? You are seeing them. You see these young people just across here. The only thing they know how to do best is what they have been told at school to do. And what they have been told at school to do are concepts, are theories, are basically aimed at getting them to know, which you call knowledge. But they are not getting their hands dirty. They are not practicing in the real sense, in the full sense of it, they are not practicing how to communicate like I'm doing. They are not practicing how to sell mandazi when the situations become hard. They are not given those skills of creativity. They are not given those skills of innovation. How when you are locked in this situation, like I was locked in South Sudan, everybody is fighting. And by the way, I was given special privileges of being expedited. I mean, got out of the country in case war hit. But so my passport was always on my chest because any time I was the first person to be
evacuated
in case there is war. So you have not lived in those conditions. You don't know what it means. And so getting into those conditions and learning to maneuver in those conditions is a rare skill, and that is what I'm talking about. So they have not communicated. They can't speak. They are not employable. They don't know how to take instructions. They don't know how to be supervised. They don't know how to network within that system to talk to others, which you also call networking skills. They don't know how to use the computer practically.
Who is to blame here,
The only thing they know how to do is TikTok, but they also TikTok and watching these funny things, but they also don't know how to attune TikTok to go to channels that will build their skills in the direction in which they want. Later on, they don't know what their skills area are. And so
your mind was full of worry.
My mind is attuned to helping this young person to gain those skills in order for them to be fit for purpose.
Doctor, I'm trying to understand you,
right?
And I'm trying to really read your mind, how busy your mind was. At your age, you look back, you are this level.
Right.
You're looking at us here. Let me say my age, I'm here.
Right.
There are people you're looking at who are down here.
Right.
You flash with your glasses and your mind is full of worry. Because you see them doing the worst things. You see them doing exactly the opposite of the structures that raised you.
Right.
And then you decide to put it in a book.
Right. So that book is exactly addressing that. Actually, I would have loved to call it Where There Is No Mentor.
The book will act one.
The book, the kind book that is coming out, I would have loved to call it Where There Is No Mentor. But then I found that many people, again, don't understand employability skills. What are they? And so it is those skills that I would like to communicate in a simple language, in an easy to understand way, basing on my experiences over the region, so that when somebody reads it, they see he was stuck in the situation of war, and this is how he survived. He was stuck in the area of payment, and this is the way how he did that.
And he still made it in life.
And so this is the book. Yeah. But of course, it follows my first book.
That's what I was going to ask you. That you said that was the second book.
Correct.
What was the first one?
The first book is interesting, and I wrote it immediately after I came from the public service, and when I was doing those projects in this number of countries, and I was inspired by middle income status. Of course, having worked with the World Bank institutions, I got to understand that the word middle income is a concept that many people don't know.
A few years ago, it was one of the words which were making rounds of headlines.
That's correct.
Whether Uganda we've attained a middle status income.
That's correct. And if you begin to look at it more closely, it was a word or a concept associated with the World Bank and economists. And so I picked that and I said, I want to produce a book that tones down the middle income status of a country to an everyday life person. And then I go out there, I look at 5 key countries that have already acquired the middle income status. And I study them and I see how they achieved theirs so that Uganda can learn from it. It's called benchmarking.
The book is called Benchmarking.
So that process is called benchmarking.
Okay.
So the book title is called Creating Human Resource Systems for Attaining Middle Income of a state, of a country. And it's a case of Uganda. But in the case of Uganda, I'm looking at a number of other African countries that have attained middle income status. And so this book opened my mind because it brought out the definitions clearly in a manner that can enable me, who is not purely an economist, but a social scientist, explain it to the everyday person using simple words and giving practical examples from countries that have achieved it and the route they took to achieve middle income status faster. And this book, interestingly, was published by the German publishing house known as Lambert and accessed on the internet. So it's on the Amazon, and you can download it on the Amazon and read about this book.
What were your recommendations in that book, especially for a country like Uganda?
A country like Uganda, the first thing that book talks about and shows everyone is the skills. What are these skills? It defines the soft skills and the hard skills. That was number one. Number two, it talks about the courses that the Ugandan young people, youth and millennials should do, which will enable the children to come out of universities and colleges when they are skills. And number three, it recommends what government can do in the planning process. And this beautiful book, actually, I shared it with the National Planning Authority of Uganda.
Did they take it in?
And they took it in. And they invited me to do a piece of work that was in alignment with it. And I was able to make a contribution at national level to study and make recommendations on Uganda's agriculture and education and their value chain systems. And that study, I did it supporting the National Planning Authority. And it was a result of my book.
So, Doctor, when you look at all those achievements,
right,
are you blessed or you're just working too hard?
Just like you, I'm blessed because you were able to identify me at a spot that you should get these experiences out there. You are as blessed as I am because it takes two to tango.
What is the difference?
The difference is that you know how to identify the right person, and I'm the right person to speak into what you want to speak or what you want to put across there. But I think you're more powerful than myself. Why? You are reaching many through technology.
But you're impacting thousands.
And so you are living in the times, of technology. You are living in the times of technology. Me, I'm just an old man, 61 years old. I'm so blessed.
Doctor, they say, I've heard about this saying that every generation is better than the other.
Right.
That the generation after us, after me, is wiser than me. A generation after you is wiser than you. How does it work? I
think it's a myth. We are all living in our generations and we cannot judge them. We are the best in our generation. Now I'm the best in my generation. You are the best in your generation. Because the things you do today, you'll never have an opportunity ever again to do them. You'll never have an opportunity ever again to bring me here to ask me about my achievements. No, it's done. It's finished. We are moving forward. The next thing you'll be coming to do is to see how the Nile Basin International School has actually put into practice the things that I said I will do at the time when I said I will do them. And that is planning. So you are the best. You are living in your generations. There is no future. It is now. You are living in your future today.
Is there something you
just
learned
like
from
myself?
Let me say, is there something you learned from the millennials at your age?
A lot of things, and that's why I always want to remain younger. And that's why I keep running after the millennials. Even as I do this interview, my heart is bumping looking at these children jumping out. I want to see how they walk. And my class is very interesting. My medical class at UCU for this particular year, they love hearing stories of the past. And they always used to call me old. But now they found that I know much more of technology than they know, although they are living in the times of technology. And I don't count it all loss. It's because I've been interacting with passion with the millennials and the young people. I know how to speak to them. I love speaking to them. I have spoke to many. You just imagine, every year I have been taking, together with my wife, 40 students from the university, guiding them, shaping their future, and speaking to them, disciplining them. I still discipline them, whether I know them or not, although the cultures have become different. That when you meet a child on the road and they are in the wrong, you don't spank them. I spank them, even if they are not my child, my children. But I don't do it in a harsh way. I do it with much love. And I think that's what characterizes me.
Wow.
Real.
Doctor, I'm reading Rick Warren's book. She's asking, why on earth are we here for?
Right.
And she talks about death. Many of us live with this denial. We live in denial.
Right.
You wake up and not knowing that maybe I'm here for 100 years. My grandparents are still alive. My parents are alive. Maybe I will also live to 60 years, maybe 70. But she says that it's important we live with the fact knowing that today is your last day.
That's correct.
You are in your 60s.
Right.
Do you feel like anytime soon you're leaving?
I'm not leaving.
Does death worry you?
I'm not worried. And I know that I live forever. That is the concept I have in my mind. I've lived forever and I'm going nowhere. I think you should have seen when we celebrated our 31 years in marriage. You should have seen our dress code was living forever. We are going nowhere. Why? We have impacted many. And that's why we believe in young people. We have emptied ourselves, all the seeds that I have, and my wife, we have pushed them into the young people. We are pushing them into the young people. We are pushing them in the youth every day. And that is the reason we started that school. And those will live beyond us. They will touch generations. And that's the reason why we go out there to live the truth. And the truth is, we are going nowhere.
To be honest, Dr. Sometimes I worry. I'm like, okay, I'm breathing today. How about if I wake up tomorrow and I am no more? I fear death. And I have this internal curiosity in me that as you grow older, do those fears really come closer to you?
If you know where you're going, then the signposts will lead you there. If you do not know where you're going, the signposts have no meaning for you. Do you get it? So we are Christian and we read the Bible every day. And there is no better truth than in the Bible, because the Bible assures us where we are going. And that is what I believe. And I don't live with fear, nor do my wife do. But we live to impact the lives of others when we still live. And we know that surely we shall be there.
How did you meet your wife?
It was an interesting story. Of course, I was at university and I finished in 1991, to be precise. And in my second year of work, when I was working, I didn't go on the streets. No. When I finished university, the next morning, I went to work with my uncle because I was doing work in the holidays. And so when I get in there at university to visit a friend of mine, I find this beautiful young girl. And she was my wife. And I told her, you're my wife.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Did
down
you mean
the road.
Were you joking or you meant
I was
it?
not joking.
Really?
I was not joking. I was working with Casemates Africa Limited at that time. And, for an Indian to give you holiday, that I felt like that day I should go and see my friends whom I left at campus. And so I ran back to campus, Mitchell Hall, to visit my friend, whom I commend, Michael Kagara. I hope you'll have an opportunity to listen to this. And as good life would have it, I find Monica there. And when I looked at her, she looked at me. And we were done.
You all melted.
That's it. and yeah, that's it. So God's will was done that day.
How did you know she was the right one?
I don't know. I think it's instinctive. So I sent my cousin a message that who was studying with her in Gweranyanji Girls, and that I phoned my wife and guard her jealously. And I wrote that letter, and she's the one who took it. And when she reached there, Celia, my cousin, read for her that specific part. See what your greatest admirer wrote. And she wrote back to me and she said, Moses, I'm afraid you're not my choice, because I don't like men who can't speak for themselves. And that was what satisfied my requirement number one. But remember, my 3 criteria for my future wife were a child of God, a man who knows God, a woman who knows God, a no-nonsense woman, that was the second one, and a person that is coming from an average family and above. My backgrounds were small, so I did not want to marry a kind of woman who will always take me back all the time. And so these 3 were the criteria. So the first one, she was a great leader of scripture union at Gweranyanji at the time. The second one was the evidence she wrote back to me. She does not like men who can speak for themselves. And the third one, that was obvious.
I like your choice.
So these 3 criteria helped me.
Doctor, wait a minute.
I still live them today.
When she said,
right,
she doesn't like men who can speak for themselves.
Yes.
You saw a character.
I saw a character.
This is a no-nonsense person.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. That's correct.
Uh-huh.
There's no. I was in university, and she was in S6. So you can see the gap. We are 10 years. So a girl in S6 who does not fear a campusser, at that time that's where we were called. We were called campusers. Is a no-nonsense woman.
I know.
And so for me that was a criteria ticked. And we've lived together to prove those above areas.
Wow.
And I thank God for that.
Wow. How many children now?
We've been blessed with 4 children. And beautiful people.
Interesting.
They know God, they serve God. Right.
Now, Doctor, we are going to our rapid questions.
Right.
It's not a courtroom. Feel free not to answer.
Right.
What you don't feel like answering, say pass. Yeah. But why basically we do these questions, we believe that we get to know you deeper.
Right.
There are some things you're doing that need to be an inspiration to so many others.
Right.
Because we believe in transforming followers into leaders and leaders into agents of change.
Right.
You are the position of an agent of change.
Right.
What I'm going to ask will speak to the leaders and all the followers below you. Your guilty pleasure.
Right.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Guilty. Guilty.
Pleasure.
My guilty pleasure. What I love, what I'm guilty about, and which I love to do. I don't know. That is an area where I have not thought about. This does not negate the fact that I'm not a sinner, but I'm a repented sinner. I repent every day against things that come which confront me and defeat me. And many times I've been defeated. But I don't give the damn. I come back and face my God in my private time and respond to God and ask for forgiveness. And He gives me that forgiveness. And He gives me that grace.
Your best childhood memory?
My best childhood memory was listening to the story of my mother. She used to know me as a doctor growing up. And she told me every time I saw a frog, I would pick it, I would operate it using a razor blade, and still Rio to go into her knitting box and pick a needle and a thread and stitch these frogs and let them go. They lived for some time. I did the same for cockroaches. So I grew up knowing my stories that I'm a doctor. My worst case scenario was when our first cousin, who was my mentor, failed to go to pass the degree in medicine. And when he failed to pass, he became like the meter box for all of us. And everybody said, no, Moses, you cannot be a doctor because Alex has not made it. And that's how I did not make it to be a doctor. But I was the only student in my senior 4 with a distinction in biology. And many students cried that this biology had gone to the drain.
But eventually you ended up working in the healthcare systems.
After many journeys, I ended up in health. And I think now I'm a global consultant on health.
Wow.
And I've done lots and lots of work for countries. And it gives me passion and pleasure. The doctors know, many of them up to the highest level, that I am the best in that field.
Wow.
And they have recruited me to do many things.
Wow.
I've dropped many more policies and strategies than anybody in the health sector.
Wow.
And I give this to God.
Amen.
Amen.
Your neighborhood, how do you describe your child neighborhood?
My child neighborhood speaks into my early years of 60s. I was the firstborn of my parents, and I was the most loved. We came from an average family that was God-fearing, with our grandfather, a reverend, and my father was the firstborn again in our family. And so every happening on Sunday, on Christmas, was at our home. And I was the only boy there and the firstborn child. And I received all gifts of any kind. And I grew up with nice memories, very refreshed. And that is what I remember growing up. I had no difficulty growing up. And I received all the millions of gifts. And I remember that when I keep talking to my children, I always want to make sure that I live in the memories of my time when I'm looking at my children. Each child, I try as much as possible to give them that, following on what their passions are and how they love to do it.
Short-tempered or even-tempered?
I think I'm hot-tempered. I'm a jolly good person. Everybody can think that I cannot get a cane and cane my child. But sometimes I cane the child. And they know that when I have picked it, it must hit someone. That's what they know. But my wife is the negative, is the opposite. She loves not to cane a child. But I'm a firm believer of the Bible. Spare the rod and spoil the child. So I caned them. I caned them. But I've stopped caning them. And now I use the word to cane them. And I use other technologies and methodologies to cane them, but mainly focusing on love. I want to be a symbol of love in my old age, and that's what I always struggle to do.
How do you watch aging?
Aging is numbers. That's how I always known that. And I know that I'll never age. If you meet me with, I'm sorry my wife is not here, but you have seen that, you have lived that in this interview. I think aging is numbers. I don't believe in aging numerically, but I believe in impacting lives in the shortest possible time that I have in any space. When I'm given that opportunity, I want to be seen to be mentoring someone, raising them. I want to be seen guiding them, showing them the right course. I want to be seen helping them in many directions. And I want to be seen to be starting many things. Okay.
TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn. Right. Which one is your best?
LinkedIn is my greatest because, and I publish there. If you go on my LinkedIn, you'll find there lots of publishing, and I publish in social.
You can say it here.
I publish in social. If you look for Moses Arinaitwe, that's my LinkedIn profile. If you look for Moses Arinaitwe, you'll never miss seeing me. And I publish there. I publish there technical. I publish there social. I also publish there a lot of counseling and a lot of followers who come to me. I publish their development stories. I love development stories. I think that's there is evidence to that, which you've seen. Twitter, which is today called X, has not been the thing that I do a lot because sometimes I don't have a lot of time. TikTok, I was influenced by my daughters. They are the ones who love to come and show me which stories to go in for. And I go there because my children are there. I support them in any area where they go. I never leave them. I know their Twitter handles. I know their connections. I follow the stories they put across there. And I love telling them, drop this, don't follow this route. And I call them, each one of them. I take them out on their day, and those are the things that I talk about, because I know the power of words in social media can cause or uncause a good relationship between a parent and so much.
Have you ever been rejected?
Rejection is an everyday thing.
How do you deal with it?
But all of us, one way or the other, and whether we want it or not, will be rejected, or we are being rejected. This time, it's a very unfortunate one, which I share, because my boss rejected me. Handling a rejection of your boss was the worst thing. And so this other time, I had done my project very well. I had written it. I had raised resources for it. And the time for transfers came. And when the time for transfers came, I asked my boss to allow me to do my project and finish it. And my boss says, no, you have gone. I said, I wrote this project on the candle. It is mine, although I did it in government infrastructure. She said, go, leave it.
On a
it was
candle.
a research project. I was skilled for it. Unfortunately, the funders did not allow it to go. Ultimately, we lost it, but I also lost it, but I forgave them. I have chosen to forgive anybody and everyone that has rejected me, including those who have held me in low mood, extreme low mood, and they have denied me what belongs to me. And I have chosen to forgive them and speak to them because I know the principle. If you do not forgive, you will not be forgiven. And when I forgive them, I feel the joy and the happiness. And that is what I aspire every day to be. I know that rejection is real, but it can also depress you. So I struggle every day to identify it. This is rejection. I know you. I refuse you.
Doctor, you've had almost all the answers to my question. I don't know if you're going to have an answer to this one.
Right.
Your first kiss.
My first kiss was interesting one. I think I'm going to let this one pass. It was interesting, but I keep it to myself.
You keep it just this
but
one.
If Monica was here, I would have shared it.
Okay.
But I'm a person who is shy always, and I don't like holding hands, even holding hands with my daughters in the public. But this last time, my wife felt so comfortable and easy. We are purely Christian, and we had taken ourselves out for an evening at the Sheraton Gardens, and everybody was there. And after our dinner, I walked near her and I kissed her on
the forehead.
On the forehead, and it made her day, and it became a testimony for her. Up to today, she says it.
Okay.
Real.
What do you want the world to remember you for? 50 years, 100 years, you and I won't be here, doctor. There will be people living.
The world should remember Moses Arinaitwe for taking risks to raise the children of the communities based on his experience. I think I've raised my children with grace, with sufficient grace. And I can take a risk of any magnitude to raise a child. It doesn't matter whether they are mine. I can do that. I've done that. It gets too emotional for me that I see a child suffering. I just want to take any risk of any magnitude, including getting out of my house. And you have practically seen it. I've demonstrated it for you. I left my house to educate the children of the community. I want to be remembered for doing that. That only act. And I want to do it as many times until that time when I will be so weak and frail not to do it.
Wow. Now, Doctor, you've talked about the Bible so many times.
Right.
And out of curiosity, the Bible says it's Jesus taught in parables.
Right.
So when you read these Bible stories, which one is factual and which one is parable? For instance, you believe Elijah went to heaven alive?
Very interesting question. Would you believe so?
I'm confused. Is it factual? It's a parable.
The Bible is a divine book that gives room to biblical interpretation and gives room to teaching. So these lessons from the Bible teach us the way to go. By emulating those parables, we're able to learn the truth of the Bible. But there are also facts that for example, facts such as God is love. Can you conceptualize that? God is love. And if you love me, I will be there for you. And if you love me, what you pray, I'll give it to you in the time that I desire.
Let's speak to the two animals, the eagle and the lion. I admire those two animals when it comes to leadership. I pick something from the lion. That's the attitude. And then the eagle, I pick the focus. It will be thousands of miles away. And it will look down and will focus on the prey and it will have it.
Right.
A lion will look at an elephant and see food despite the size. And the elephant will look at the lion and see eater, and it will take off. The attitude. Is there something you can emulate from the two animals, the eagle and the lion?
I think one cross-cutting fact among them is being able to isolate failure. I think the right attitude negates failure automatically. You cannot have the right attitude to fail. Would you have the right attitude to fail?
No.
So I think the cross-cutting factor there is the Bible. I mean, is the character of living a positive life. And I love the story of the lion too. There is this particular one where the lion invited all the animals in the jungle. And when they had come for meeting and they were struggling to say the elephant is the biggest, it should take leadership and chair this meeting. And the giraffe is the tallest, so it can watch out everyone. And the lion said, wait a minute, I am the leader. And it came and it sat on the chair. And it says, keep quiet, all of you. If you talk, I will eat you. And all the animals did what?
They kept quiet.
They kept quiet. And he assumed authority. The right attitude is action-packed. You cannot have the right action and you cannot have the right attitude
and fail to
act. The lesson I learned from there is that once you believe in action, then you have the right attitude. I know that I cannot fail. I know that. When I start a project, I know that I cannot fail to deliver it. In fact, in all those hundreds of projects I've done, I've never failed a project. I have never asked to go back and repeat. And I submit my report and it's a fait accompli. I've never submitted a report and it's returned to me. Why? I go in there knowing the fact. And the fact is that I'm a winner.
The attitude.
And that is the right attitude. And this is the message I want to put across the young people. Because many times the attitudes that they swing around are not theirs. Somebody has told you, you can make it. My daughter, when she finished her senior 6, she applied for interviews and she got marks that can qualify her for a degree in law and a degree in mass communication. And she came back running to me, Daddy, which one of the two should I do? I said, why are you asking me, Blessing? It's you. It's you. It's you. You have to go back and excel. Go and identify where your strengths are and do what best fits you best. This is crossed.
True.
But many a time, our parents tell you, I want you to be an engineer. You ought to be an engineer like myself. No, but they forget one fact, that their right attitude, which today I call the center of action, is not in engineering, but in another area. Every young girl or boy that you see here has the potential to do anything, actually has the potential to do everything, if they have been supported to achieve that.
And exposed.
And exposed. And that is the message that we put across at the international school. We have seen these little kids coming out. Today, our latest innovation at the school, at the Nile Basin International School, is student-led conferences. And these little students, as young as in preschool, they are able to lead their parents in what they are doing at school, how they are doing it, what their teachers are doing to them, and what they think they will do in the future. And they have started their saving schemes, and they are able to save their own money and to know how money is made. And these things have made them different and unique from many others. And we continue to build on them, focusing on our key core values of innovation, leadership. Nature is very important, helping them to walk the way of nature, the green nature. If you come to the campus, it's a green campus, absolutely. And
I would definitely pay a
these
visit.
Are important aspects when we are talking about leadership today. Leadership is action. And I always tell my friends that an ice cream seller cannot be a leader, because he ought to laugh at everyone. But leadership is taking about big decisions, bad decisions.
What do you mean by that, Doctor?
Good decisions.
What do you mean by that?
An ice cream seller needs everyone.
And can't be a leader.
How can you lead?
But Doctor, what you're saying is really so touching, especially the kind of children you're raising at Nile Basin International School.
Right.
There's a huge difference from your students and the students who are going through the national curriculum.
Right.
By the end of the day, they are going to compete for the same jobs.
Right.
What does that make you feel?
I feel overjoyed, and so are their parents. I think you should see their parents and how they feel when they see a preschool leading a workshop. Do you see what I'm talking about? Where they are showing their parent from the process of how learning starts to the process of the assessment at the center where they are assessed, to the process of the books, how they use those pieces, the material they use are called pieces, to the process of the pieces, and to the process of diagrammatic and infographics that they have designed on the wall. And a preschool is able to lead a parent through that whole journey and come back, and they are not supported by a parent, and they are not supported by anybody, including their teacher, because they know those days when they are leading conferences to educate their children, and that makes me feel accomplished.
So how would you measure success?
Success is empowering this little kid to do a workshop, a student-led workshop, and she does it, to the happiness of the child, and the child puts a tick on the social media platform where she sees the picture. And so many social media platforms have been shared out. So many pictures and success stories at the Nile Basin have been shared online. And their parents have come out to tick and to like and to come back and compliment.
So now, Doctor, we are coming to the end of this conversation, but this is how we usually do it towards the end.
Right.
One, you're going to look into this camera and share your words of wisdom, because I believe the difference between me and you, despite the age, there are a couple of disciplines involved.
Right.
The difference between me and the little ones, despite the age, there are things I'm doing that they are not doing. Share with us some of your wisdom that makes Dr. Moses Arinaitwe.
Right.
In just about a minute.
Thank you very much. First of all, it's an honor for me to be here to speak to all of you, young and the old. But of course, my passion goes to the youth, the young people, and the millennials. Who are the millennials? They have just finished university. They have an empty head. The head does not have any employable skill in it, and it doesn't have the curriculums of life, the things that make life life. They need help. They need the help not of the parent, they need help of the right mentor. And I want to say it here, that no one makes it without a mentor. At 61, I still have my mentors. They speak to me, they compliment me, and they tell me, Moses, here you have done great. And I feel good and I'm able to move on. Number one thing the millennial needs is a mentor. The mentor is not a relative. The mentor is not a friend. The mentor is a person who is skilled, who is knowledgeable, who has the passion, and who has the ability to be able to take you through a process without fearing you, not to carry you on the shoulder, as it were. Number two, I want to speak to the youth. There are many distractions that are all over the space, and many of them, come to look at them, they are generated through peer relationships. Look at your friends and see whether these your friends are taking you into where your passions are going. If your passions are taking a direction different from where your peer systems are taking you, check, look for a mentor. Speak out the truth, what you're facing, and they will always guide you into the right space. Don't keep quiet. Act, and act right. Number three, I want to speak to the children. The children today are under intense influence of technology, basically, and peer pressure. And most of these peer, when you come to look at them, they have found them at the school where they spend the rest of their time. I'm telling you, young people, I'm telling you, youth and children, be careful, watch out when you speak with the first person. Understand whether they are fitting within the plan that God has for you, whether they are speaking into your area of passion, and whether they are helping you to empower you in the area where you would like yourself to be. Know your plans for the future. Write them down in a small notebook so that you'll be able to look after them and constantly assess, helped by a mentor, to know whether you're following them rightly or correctly. And go back to your parents and hold your parents accountable. Don't fear to speak to your parents. Tell your parents where you want to go and ask them to help you to achieve it. I usually achieve that. Recently, my son came back to me and says, I have a challenge in this area X, and I would like your help in this area 1, 2, 3. Make them your friends. It is when your children are your friends that they will open up to you and you'll open up to them. And in the two opening, you'll be able to achieve the purposes for which those children were created. Finally, I want to speak to the parents. Parents like me, but I speak to dads. Number one, daddy, be there for your children. You have no better blessing than that. There is no other special gift that God gave you other than your children. They are created in your image. They are yours. Each one was blessed with a plan. The success of that plan will depend on how much you value them, how much you are there for them, how much you speak to them, how much you cajole them, how much passion you attach to them. And it should be demonstrated. Love is demonstrated. You must demonstrate your love. I know many men find it difficult to tell their daughter, I love you. I speak to mine. I love them all the time. When it's like my national anthem, when I speak to my girls, I always tell them, I love you. practice to tell I love you to your children.
Wow.
It is the basic message. And once you do it, and you do it right, you'll always do it all the time, and it will bring you closer to your children. Finally, I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak to you.
It's
and
a
use
big
this
pleasure
forum,
indeed.
to be able to communicate some of these things.
We share some flowers to people who have been our supportive system when they're still breathing.
Right.
I have my 5 friends around me that when I feel sad, I call, I lean back on them.
Right.
There are moments where you're depressed and mental health is amongst us. So there are people I call and I'm like, hey, this and this is not happening. What should I do? I would like to give you this opportunity. Look into the camera. Just say thanks to 5 people around you.
These 5 people around me, number 1 will be my father. She's not living. He sacrificed everything he had to get me educated. When I was of age already in high school, my father went to work, to labor, to toil for my fees. He packed his bags and he left home to go and work for a relative to pay my fees. God rest him in peace. That is my number 1 person. He lives even though he's dead. Following on her are 2 people that have been close. And sometimes it is as if I'm comparing my mother and my wife. But no one takes precedence over my wife. Monica, she has loved me. She made me who I am. I was a type of man that never used to have the confidence to speak. She gave me the confidence, and when she's on my side, I feel good. I feel so very empowered. I can do anything. I love my children, all of them without segregating, because they make me who I am. And those are the 5 people that make me who I am. I love them with all the passion that it requires. I'm sorry for being emotional, but that is who I am. I'm a very emotional person when I begin to speak about my family. But I thank God that I'm able to do that. And I want finally to thank you so very much for giving me this opportunity to come over, to express it. It's also important that we express our emotions. So I love you as well for inviting me here. I know that the world is what we make it. We live with it in our hand. Never look for the world far away from you. It is where your step is, and it is biblical, because the Bible says, where you lay your feet, claim it for yourself.
True.
And so we lay those claims over the world that is around us, and that beats our ego, that beats our arrogance, that beats our ambition, and we keep aligned to the cause that God created us to do, to fulfill the purposes for which He created us to do. And that's it. I just want to thank God again for this opportunity, and thank you for inviting me to speak at this broadcast.
It's a pleasure,
thank
Doctor.
You very much.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. And
well,
your entire
Doctor,
team, may God bless you. And I look forward to meeting you again. In
Doctor,
future,
you are a true definition of a blessed man. I told you this yesterday when we were having a phone conversation.
Right.
You know, I've had so many people say, look for a man of God who has been blessed with so many things. You are one of them I have
thank
met.
God for that.
When you look into the lives of your children, your family, you've sacrificed a lot for God.
Thank you.
And He has blessed you with a lot of wisdom. Today when we're going for the meeting, I wanted to tell you that these are some of the things you're reaping off for sacrificing for God.
Yes.
You know, when you serve God, He blesses you with abundance of wisdom.
Right.
When people call you to say, you come and share with us this strategy.
Right.
You have designed so many of them.
Right.
And that's what God has filled you with. That you put something on paper under His guidance, and it is passed. Not only being passed, but implemented.
Right.
And not only implemented, but changing lives.
Right.
No wonder you are a blessed man.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moses.
Thank you very much.
Arinaitwe.
Thank you.
Friends, That is it for Live with Simon Chris Makanga, and today's episode has been quite amazing. We have learned a lot from leadership as a father, as a public servant, so many things. The little ones, a lot has been captured in this episode. And if it's still your very first time here, go ahead and subscribe. And if you do resonate with what we are doing, feel free to reach out. Come through, let's have a conversation. My name is Simon Chris Makanga, and I want to say thanks to my production team. You have done a great job. May the good Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob be with you until we meet in another episode. But for now, it's a bye-bye. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless you and your team.
God bless you too.
Thank you.